you are, but words are not enough to tell you of our love, so listen to our hearts. If words could fall like rain from these lips of mine, and if I had 1,000 years, Lord, I would still run out of time. If you listen to my heart, every beat will say, thank you for the life, thank you for the truth, and thank you for the way. Let's stand. So listen to our hearts, hear our spirits sing, a song of praise that flows from those you have redeemed. We will use the words we know to tell you what an awesome God you are. But words are not enough to tell you of our love, so listen to our hearts. We want to dismiss our children to the nursery as well as Wiggler's Worship. Those age 3 through grade 2 for Wiggler's Worship. For our sermon, let's sing this song together. Troublesome times are here, filling men's heart with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is at stake. Humbling your heart to God, safe from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians awake. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom, trumpets will sound. All of the dead shall rise, righteous meet in the sky, going where no one dies, heavenward bound. Troubles will soon be o'er, happy forevermore, when we meet on that shore, free from all care. We're rising up in the sky, telling this world goodbye. Homeward we then will fly, glory to share. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom, trumpets will sound. All of the dead shall rise, righteous meet in the sky, going where no one dies, heavenward bound. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom, trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise, righteous meet in the sky, going where no one dies, we're heavenward bound. The church said, you may be seated.
Matt, go on to the next slide. I know it's not Halloween, but I want to know this morning, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen? What? Aliens? All right. The Shining. Jaws. Yeah? I tell you, when I was a kid, I used to love the slasher movies. You know, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched them all. Now, I know what you're thinking. Your parents let you watch those movies? Well, no. No, they didn't, but my friends' parents did. And so we'd go over to my friend's house, we'd have a sleepover, we'd watch one of those movies, and we'd go camp out in the backyard scared stupid for the rest of the night. But you know, now those movies don't really scare me. They're more stupid than scary. My boys ask to watch them all the time, and I say it's a waste of time. It's just stupid. Now, very different kinds of movies scare me. In fact, I want to show you what is, for me, the scariest movie of all time. Watch this.
There is a mystery, elusive, unpredictable, violent. It terrifies most scientists. But for a new breed, the challenge is saving lives. The research is deadly. The laboratory is nature itself.
And potentially could be a storm that has a wind in excess. Let's assume the worst at this point.
Joe! Bill! It's coming! Everybody underground now! Joe, come on! Get underground! Take cover right now!
They shot that movie in Judsonia, you know. I tell you, I will never forget the night I saw that movie. When it came out in May of 1996, my buddies and I had gone to the late show at the Malco in Jonesboro. And so we got out about 12:30 that night, and it's a spring night, and we get out of the movies, and it's lightning everywhere. I have never made the trip from Jonesboro to Paragould that quickly. That scared me to death. Because twisters scare me, and it's not the only thing. I don't watch medical shows either. I'm a bit of a hypochondriac. I don't watch anything with airplanes, okay? And after last night, I saw a show last night where a fat kid fell out of a roller coaster. I'm not going back to Six Flags anytime soon either. What scares you? What comes to your mind in horrifying scenes? You heard what happened in Hawaii yesterday, didn't you?
Steven, that's their power player, Steven.
Putting that up with the miss. She knows the other.
The U.S. Pacific Command has detected a missile threat to Hawaii. A missile may impact on land or sea within minutes. This is not a drill. If you are indoors, stay indoors. If you are outdoors, seek immediate shelter in a building. Remain indoors well away from windows. If you are driving, pull safely to the side of the road and seek shelter in a building or lay on the floor. We will announce when the threat has ended. This is not a drill. Take immediate action measures. Repeat. The U.S. Pacific Command has detected a missile threat to Hawaii. A missile may impact on land or sea within minutes. This is not a drill.
It was just a mistake. Somebody pushed the wrong button. But you know, my first adopted daughter lives in Hawaii now. Phil and Liz Thompson have a daughter and son-in-law and grandbaby that live in Hawaii now. What would you do? What would you do? How would you respond to your worst nightmare coming to life on the big screen and then off of it? I have nightmares about tornadoes. I wake up sweating and my heart is pounding and the whole thing is so real. I gotta check my weather app to make sure it was just a dream. I want you to try to imagine seeing the scenes John saw in Revelation 6. The visions of Revelation 6 are depicted like something from a horror movie, with each scene intensifying the horror. Yet these scenes are very real. These are scenes, John says, of things that must soon take place. Let me bring you up to speed. In chapter 4, John saw an awesome scene with the undisputed King sitting on his heavenly throne, surrounded by 4 living creatures and 24 elders and myriads of angels, all hymning their King in strains divine. Then in chapter 5, he saw a breathtaking scene with the King's worthy agent coming forward to accomplish the King's will for his realm. And now in chapter 6, he sees a heart-stopping scene as that will begins to unfold, as the seals on the scroll of destiny begin to be opened. And now John is seeing the central message of the book of Revelation. And it's like seeing a horror movie screaming off the page, off the screen, with each scene intensifying the horror. Now let me give you the trailer. Beginning in chapter 6, John sees 3 cycles of 7. 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and 7 bowls. You need to know that these are not progressive. In other words, one does not lead to the other, does not lead to the other, does not lead to the end of the world. They are cyclical. In other words, the message of the broken seals is revealed again in the message of the sounding trumpets, is revealed again in the message of the poured out bowls. History is cyclical, and each cycle intensifies the horror. Now, the message at the end of each cycle is, yes, indeed, there is a great day coming when the undisputed King of the cosmos will throw down the wannabe kings of the earth. But until that time comes, history will continue to repeat itself in a terrifying cycle of rebellion. In Revelation 6, the seals began to be broken. The first 4 go together. The next 2 go together. And then the 7th is by itself. Let me show you the scenes of this horror movie. In the first scene, we see the 4 horsemen. Revelation chapter 6, verse 1. Now I watched when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals. And I heard one of the 4 living creatures say with a voice like thunder, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a white horse. And its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him. And he came out conquering and to conquer. When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, "Come." And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth so that people should slay one another, and he was given a great sword. When he opened the third seal, I heard a third living creature say, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a black horse. And its rider had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard what seemed to be a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine." When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him. And they were given authority over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword and with famine and with pestilence and by the wild beasts of the earth. Now, the question everybody has is, who are these 4 horsemen? Well, if you're familiar with the Old Testament, the imagery of the 4 horsemen comes from the book of Zechariah, chapter 1 and chapter 6. In Zechariah, the prophet sees 4 horsemen riding through the earth, patrolling for God, and they come back and report that there is peace. But peace is a weird thing. Zechariah, yes, he sees peace on the earth because the Persians have conquered everything, but God's people are not really at peace. So it's sort of a false peace. And it's that way here too. You know, the Romans prided themselves on their peace. Did you know that? Maybe you heard in school about the Pax Romana, the 250-year period of peace that accompanied Roman rule. Well, it's a farce. The only reason Rome had peace is because they killed everybody that stood in their way. And so there's no rest where these riders go. This rider on the white horse has a bow and a crown. And he comes forth conquering and to conquer. Now, there are some people who think this is Jesus. He's on a white horse. And he's wearing a crown, and he conquers. No. 2 reasons I know this is not Jesus. Number 1, what follows this horse is not Jesus. What follows this horse is bloodshed and famine and death. Jesus does not leave that in his wake. But maybe more telling than that, the reason I know this is not Jesus is because of what's on his head. You say it's a crown. In the book of Revelation, there are 2 words for crown. One is Stephanos and one is diadem. And in the book of Revelation, only Jesus wears the diadem. This is the Stephanos, the garland wreath that kings sometimes wore. Let me tell you what this rider on the white horse is. The Romans had one enemy of whom they were deathly afraid, and that enemy was the Parthians. They were particularly afraid of the Parthians because the Parthians were the only enemy who had ever really defeated Rome in battle, and they did it twice. The Parthians existed at Rome's easternmost border, and they represented the most legitimate threat to Rome's power. And let me tell you this, they were known particularly for sending out white horses mounted by archers. Now, there were a lot of armies in the ancient world that used archers, But the Parthians had perfected it. In fact, we have reliefs of Parthian warriors who could ride full speed ahead on a horse, turning over their shoulder to shoot with deadly accuracy. Now, the point of this white horse and its rider is to tell the Roman Empire there is another king out there, and he is a threat to you, and he is coming to conquer you. And the Romans knew the Parthians well. This image is meant to strike terror into the heart of every Roman. This Parthian threat was real, and John saw it materializing. But you've got to know that there's more to this image than the Parthians. In John's day, it was the Romans and the Parthians. It was Rome, the ruling power, and the Parthians, the only legitimate threat to that power. But the rider on the white horse goes forth to conquer. And what I need you to understand this morning is this is the way of human history. Those with crowns go out to conquer. Since the Garden of Eden, humans have been building their own kingdoms and propping up their own kings in rebellion against the undisputed king and his kingdom. There is a bloodlust among the powerful of the earth to achieve more and more dominion, and that's what this white horse represents. It represents the lust for power and the threat of war in pursuit of that power. If you don't believe me, read the news. Just in the last 2 weeks, the President of the United States has been involved in a Twitter spat with the leader of North Korea. They've been measuring the sizes of their nuclear buttons. And the whole earth waits in terror to see what's going to happen. This first horse represents war and conquest, and the other horses represent the fallout of that bloodlust. The red horse represents the bloodshed that human war produces. The black horse represents the famine and inflation that come from war as the countryside is devastated and trade is suspended. And then the pale green horse represents death coming in to mop up the whole operation. What John sees here, yes, it is the current state of affairs for people living in the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire, no matter how powerful it may appear, is doomed. There is coming a king that will conquer it like kings do. But John sees more than that. He sees the current state of affairs, not just for Rome, but in human history. Humans in rebellion to God, abusing each other, warring against each other, and turning every country into well, you know what Donald Trump said. I'll call it a hell.